A very painfully yet slowly collapsing red team, economic recovery for the rest of the world, and restabilization of certain regions across the world. The world's finally recovering from the chaos of the past few episodes. All right, so as you saw in the intro, the red team is painfully collapsing. Even though their new leader, the queen, the wife of the older brother from from that little brothers arc, even though she's like probably one of the greatest leaders the country's ever had, there's a certain limit to how big you can grow before you have too many different cultures within you and you start your descent into collapse. Also, not to mention, it's not like the queen's just young. That queen's gonna last maybe like another 20 years before she also passes due to old age. They still don't have children. The entire Red Team royal family has no more children. The queen, the queen doesn't have a child. The queen has no siblings, and the siblings of her husband, who's dead right now, are all exiled because of certain event called a very big civil war. So like, this might be the end of the royal family for the red team. The blue team, however, is peaking. Their biggest competitor is on the verge of collapse, and they control one of the most strategic points, as well as have the ability to, once the red team collapses inevitably, quickly secure not only the Suez, but even the Bosphorus. As for the Kievan Rus, the only thing they get out of this is probably gonna be them finally getting Black Sea access in their own territory instead of having to bully other countries for it. Because if you remember, the big country over here that they used to bully for it kind of doesn't exist anymore. And the red team intervened in that to quickly capture the coastline, which is the only thing that Kevin Roos wanted anyways. Yeah, the red team over here doing some massive trolling. So yeah. Anyway, the United well, no, not the UK. This is not the same as the UK. This is the British Republic. They're not a monarchy though. They elect a new like person who becomes basically a dictator. As soon as he's elected, a civil war he leads a civil war towards the capital, Leyden, not London, Leiden. Yes, Leiden. Um, starting from over here, and he quickly captures it and then lays siege on it. Eventually, he kills all the members of like the little council thing that the British have, and that little council basically prevents the president from getting complete control. After the death of that council, he takes complete control over the nation's military and economy and everything else. And now, bro has nothing left. Bro is the main character. There's nothing to stop him anymore. As far as the British are concerned, he's the strongest person in the world. Man can literally dominate whoever he wants as long as they're in his country. So now that he has that, he actually turns the British into a monarchy. Yep, the British are a monarchy now. This is, I think, our two timelines: the real world's history and this civilization restarts are about to intersect. The British have just become a monarchy. This is a canon event. This is a canon event. All right. Meanwhile, the African Union puts an end to no man's land. Basically, the red team, the South African Union, and the African Union decide on how they want to finally split this land, I guess. Yeah. And this is it's weird. It's weird. The way they chose to do this is kind of weird, I'm not going to lie. They basically, whoever has more criminals in the territory, in certain like territories of this place, gets those territories. Just straight up gets them. In an effort to like basically bring justice to those criminals. The queen signs off on this, the red team queen signs off. The table of like leaders of the African Union signs off. And the two annex those regions, and then eventually, since the South African Union is a red team puppet, they're forced to say yes. Now with this, we actually have the South Africans trying to like get out of this cycle of get abused for gold by the red team, followed by have a short economic collapse and repeat. And they basically contact the blue team in secret and they're like, how about you give us some money and we'll declare war on the red team, but we want your support. And of course the blue team wants to rush. The blue team's not going to let the red team collapse organically. Of course they're going to try to rush the red team's defeat. And so they very quickly sign off on this, and their king is basically like, all right, sure, but also we want the queen dead. And so he basically hires some Persian assassins who have some old ties to the younger brother, If you don't know who that is, you haven't watched the Brothers arc yet. Basically, the younger brother is the leader of the civil war against the or no, he's the guy who the queen's husband defeated in a civil war. The queen's husband is the older brother. So the younger brother, these assassins have a tie to the younger brother, and so with this, they sneak out of Persia at night. They go all the way to the queen's place, all the way to the queen's place. Queen's like over here. The capital's like over here somewhere, or there, somewhere near like the coast. Either way, they break into her castle and they try to stab her. However, her security kills them before they can kill her. And this follows with the declaration of the South African War. Yeah, South African Union just declared war on the Red Team after hearing about because the original plan was that they take advantage of the chaos of the Queen's assassination to invade, but the assassination kind of failed. So they say the chaos of the Queen almost getting assassinated is still good enough because now people are going to be rushing to her and like trying to protect her in case there's another like assassination attempt. So they very quickly they're right. They're found to be right. There's no troops in the Red Team's thing. And so they pushed with relative ease up until the Great Wall of Fortresses, which is the name of this huge landmark that the Red Team built a long time ago to ward off native rebels trying to recover African territories. And this was actually in partnership with the Qing. If you know anything about the Qing Republic from the series, you've learned that they're extremely hostile and aggressive towards rebel groups. Yeah, those things are barely able to be pushed through. Eventually, Red Team forces arrive and push back to South Africans. And now the uh, Blue Team pulls out of South Africa. So before the Red Team discovers their gadgets and like technology inside, well, not technology as of like what we think of technology, like technology as in catapults and like brands of catapults. They pull out before the Red Team can discover any of that in South Africa Union. Because if they do, the Blue Team's getting declared war on. Because at this point, a lot of people in the Red Team, although it's not official, but a lot of people in the Red Team do actually just think that it is Blue Team who helped with the assassination. Like they know that it's Persian rebels, or well, they call themselves rebels. They call themselves the Persian Military Restoration Front. Why? Because the military, remember, Persia is currently a military dictatorship. It's not a bad dictatorship. They've made the country really nice, but it is still a dictatorship. So some people do still not like it just because they didn't get a choice in the leader. And at any moment, the leader could be bad, and they can't do anything about it. Eventually, after the Red Team pushes this far, South Africa capitulates. Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, since they can't do anything about it, there are some rebel groups. So these guys, the assassins, frame themselves as a rebel group. They're not though. Anyway, after the collapse of South Africa, we have a peace treaty. Okay, so in this peace treaty, we have the Red Team getting a colony right here and some land gains. Most importantly, though, South African Union previously was not like a full-on puppet state. They were not officially a puppet state. They were just influenced so heavily that they were basically a puppet state. Now they're officially one. So Red Team can now officially pull them into wars whenever they want. Much like this nation right here and these guys. Meanwhile, Floridan territories. This is awkward because the Red Team and then the Umayyads, they hate each other. But then we have the Red Team's colony and the Umayyads' colony. And as far as these two colonies' diplomatic relations go, the Red Team and the Umayyads' diplomatic relations go regarding these two, it's like they're really chill with each other, almost like they're allies. They can go to the mainland, not so much anymore. And the Umayyads look to give Florida that let's say unity with them. So they basically tell Florida, or the governor of the Floridan place, declare war on the Red Team and Red Team's colony, claim a bunch of land, and go take that land, or you guys are getting kicked out of the nation. Now, right now, these guys have no food, so they get kicked out of the nation. They're gone. With no option left, the guy sends back a notice saying yes, but then he also sends one to Washington, or New York City, where New York City would be right now, which is currently the capital of the Red Team, or the Red Team American colonies. And he basically says, "Here's the situation. How about you basically send a thing over to the Umayyads saying call off the attack and just pretend we attacked you. We're not going to though." The Red Team is basically like, "How about you get independence and we can help you?" Again, Florida's like, "No," and so the Red Team agrees because they still want good relationships, and the two do work to getting Florida independent later, but not yet right now. With this, the Umayyads are successfully fooled. Over here, though, this little claim of land between the Colombians and or Gran Colombia and the Equatorial Foundation, or whatever these guys are called, kind of sprinkles out of control into a full-on war that actually hurts the Grand Colombians. As the Red Team's kind of sick of the Grand Colombian like thing of aggression just because they have control over the UN zone or have responsibilities protected. So Red Team alongside the British and the other countries that are funding the Grand Colombian military so that the Grand Colombia could actually protect this place. Basically, call a meeting and decide that the Grand Colombia isn't even using their military to protect their place. They're just demolishing everyone around them. So funding is cut. Remember, the GDP kind of relied on this. Grand Colombia's GDP was going like that, and it was 1 trillion, around 1 trillion, and then it sprinkled to like 4 or 5 trillion. Then eventually got to like 6 trillion, 7 trillion. Now it's cut and it goes back down to 2 trillion, and that leads to the country destroyed. As for the UN zone, it's basically not like it's given to the British to protect. As for Japan or what are these guys called? Nagasaki Republic. They basically are like want this land, but they also don't want to colonize land. So what they do is they fund a new nation's existence, and this nation is actually going to be huge, or well, relatively huge. This nation is going to be called Brasilia. Origin story of Brazil, guys. Origin story of Brazil. And they're basically a giant tribe that is now given the honor to become a nation by the Nagasaki Republic. Eventually, after they become that, they kind of signed an alliance with the little tribe here that was very bad with the red team. That little tribe carries out multiple attacks on the red team, leading to the red team declaring war on the tribe in particular. That is a big no-no um, for the tribe because, well, they're a little tribe. The red team is a nation. Not only that, the red team is also the strongest nation. So they desperately try to find ways to not have this happen. Very quickly, the red team goes in, they take control, and they ultimately just incorporate the thing into themselves. I know I didn't show anymore, and that's because there is nothing to be shown, since the natives in America don't really fight. They mostly like attack at night with archers, and those aren't really fighting. They're more like assassination attempts at mass. Either way, they're eventually yeah that happens eventually. Um, Meanwhile, the red team also funds a new country kind of popping up, and this new nation is called Inner America. Why? Because it's mostly a puppet state to get gold faster. It's not meant to work. It's like it's not meant to be a nation. It's more so meant to be a thing. It's like more so made to extract resources, which makes it a very ineffective nation. So it is. It goes through political turmoil like every Thursday. However, does the red team care? Not really. No, and they really just care about their gold economy. So they make this thing, this weird border, to basically continue powering this nation by actually being able to get the gold out. It's like, yeah, this nation's not gonna live for long because they can be attacked and destroyed at any moment. So Red Team does station some troops there. Meanwhile, the British also fund a nation. Yeah, South America is getting a lot of new nations today. This new nation is called the Chimera Republic. Chimera, not Crimea. Chimera. Why? It's because there's a new fruit discovered in the world called, well, not fruit. It's like, I guess it's mineral. New mineral discovered in the world. And almost like it's like bronze in our world, except it's not called bronze. It's called Chimera. Eventually, though, after some like 2 years, it's renamed to bronze, but the country still stays as Chimera Republic. And with this, they are a direct competitor of the red team's own nation over here. Over in the Americas, we have Big Boy Texas existing, as they have no coast, basically no coast. However, a lot of political, interesting political sides. Now, this is called the Texan Republic, so it's just Texas from our world, except not really. They're more so a nation. I think that might be the big difference. They're a nation. Texas is a state. These guys are a nation. So with this, we have them existing, but we also have the Aztecs finally doing something in like 7 episodes. And they go ahead and they colonize this giant chunk of land. Why is there a random thing in the ocean? This like annexation seen as a threat from the Texan Republic. You can see where this is going. This is reminding me of the Mexican-American War. However, it's more economic tension instead of military tension and diplomatic tension. Like both want their economy to be better than the other. Diplomatically, though, they're chilling with each other. But the red blue team, make no mistake, supports the Aztecs. So in turn, the red team obviously supports the Texans. Back over here, we have the first successful rebellion of the red team. We have a like in Iberia. I want to select a nice location for this because this is gonna be monumental. Yeah, right here. So along the like river or no sea, sorry, whatever the sea's name is, of a new nation sparking up against the red team. Their name is called Najd. Yes, Najd. Actually, no, I'm gonna call them Ned. This is the Ned Republic. All people named Ned get to go here. We'll have a Nicholas and a Tesla Republic as well. Then we'll have an Edison Republic. Those two are probably gonna go to war. So this new country, oh my god, if Paint 3D crashes, oh my god, Paint 3D crashes, I'm going to punch my laptop. Dear God, we're back. Everything's fine. So the Ned Republic declares war on the entirety of the red team because they want independence, and they very quickly spread to take over a giant chunk of land. And fearing that Ned would spread further, the Queen pushes them back with effectiveness, but not actually putting down the supporters, leading to them still being pretty strong. The Queen actually goes in herself to make a little bit of a front, but once again, Ned pushes it back. With this, the Queen, who's already lost a large thing, realizes this might not be worth it. Why? Because Ned just landed a huge boat on there, as well as on the Suez. And this is the first time the red team's actually in a threat. Very quickly, these two fronts collapse, but that leads to a huge new front being engaged over here, which is about to capture the Suez completely. So the Queen signs a treaty, basically saying these guys can get all the land that they occupied up till there, then nothing else. They also get independence. Very quickly, Ned agrees to this, and the Queen, staying true to her word because she's kind of forced to, so she doesn't lose all the land that's important, gives them this land. And with this, Ned becomes the first nation in the history of the red team successfully gaining independence. And the Queen now becomes one of the best and worst leaders the red team has ever seen. Best as in she just took the country out of the worst situation it's ever been in since its first since the like since the big coalition near the start of the red team with that big conqueror guy who basically got the red team so big. I forgot what I named him. I named him Jeffrey or Bob or something, but that man is a legend. Bro took the country from getting beaten by the biggest coalition ever in this world to this. All this Mediterranean stuff was him. The Turkish stuff, like the Turkish peninsula, that was all him. Either way, since then, this is probably the worst thing that the red team has seen. She just took it. She just let. This is so important because she's now one of the best. And the queen is now one of the best and worst leaders. Best because she took the country from collapse to victory in a lot of things, and then worst, one of the worst, because she becomes the first leader in the entire history of the red team to have allowed a part of the red team to gain independence. And so she quickly loses a lot of her support. Of course, since we're the spectators, I'm the one who created this world. Me and you guys, the viewers, we know she's really good. We know she's done a lot of good things and some bad things in terms of how good she's led the country. The people, the children being taught in schools, though, later after her time, are probably not going to be taught that. Why? They're probably going to be taught that she's a failure. Why? Because of this. But the queen knows this, so she does a little smart thing, and she basically navally blockades Ned as well as threatening any country that has relations with it into no longer having relations with it. So this is its own country, but it's only recognized by like two nations: the Byzantine and Nagasaki. The Byzantine eventually retract this recognition, leaving to only Nagasaki Republic recognizing them. Make no mistake, they are a country. They're just not recognized, so because no one wants to make the red team mad. Anyways, with this, I will see you guys in another video.